Architectural Outcast.
This week, the Enterprise has an enigmatic guest, Charlie, the sole survivor of a shipwreck. The mystery surrounding Charlie is that he was a toddler when that ship crashed, and the ship only had enough food for 2-3 years at most, and he's now 17. He also claims that he learned to read, write, and speak just by watching the holotapes from the crashed ship's computer. When we first meet Charlie, he's friendly, a little shy, little awkward, no filter, in brain, out mouth, creating all sorts of little social faux pas. But he genuinely seems to want people to like him. You know, like a typical teenager. There are 2 early warning signs that there might be more to Charlie than first meets the eye. First off, the ship that found Charlie, they can't get rid of him fast enough. They want to leave like 5 minutes ago. And when Kirk offers, "Do you need any supplies? We got entertainment holotapes," their response is, No, we're good. Bye. Good luck. Goodbye. Did we mention good luck? The second issue is that Charlie keeps interrupting Kirk and the captain of the ship that rescued him to ask questions. Kirk firmly but politely tells Charlie, "You're being rude. You don't interrupt people when they're talking." Before Charlie can get upset, though, he's distracted by the sight of a girl, Yeoman Rand. Apparently, she's the first one he's ever seen. At first, Charlie spends his time running around the ship, sticking his nose in every nook and cranny. He is fascinated by the Enterprise and its crew. Part of the crew is hanging out in the rec room where Mr. Spock is playing the Vulcan harp and Uhura is singing. Charlie wanders in and he likes what he sees, and he wants in on the action. So he sits down next to Yeoman Rand and starts showing off his card tricks. But it takes a little more than sleight of hand to be able to pull off what he's doing. Charlie finds Kirk and Spock playing 3D chess. He's enthralled. He wants to try playing. Kirk gives up his seat. Spock warns Charlie, "You're about to make a mistake." Charlie sneers, "I know what I'm doing." Spock curb stomps Charlie, beats him easily. Charlie is not happy. He melts the game pieces with his mind in a fit of rage. Charlie finds Kirk and asks him to explain why Yeoman Rand is upset at him for slapping her on the butt. We didn't get to see Kirk awkwardly stumble through the birds and bees conversation. As Kirk is stumbling through his birds and bees conversation, he's called to the bridge because the captain of the ship that found Charlie wants to give them a warning. But before they could finish the warning, the ship blows up. Charlie, who had followed Kirk to the bridge, tells everybody, "You didn't want to hear what they had to say anyhow," and he storms out. Charlie has just murdered 40 or so people. Yeoman Rand begs Captain Kirk to have another talk with Charlie because he just won't leave her alone, won't stop pestering her. Charlie's upset because he likes Yeoman Rand, but she won't return his affections. Kirk tries to explain affection's a two-way street. Just because you like somebody doesn't guarantee they will like you back. Charlie ain't having it because as far as he's concerned, he likes her. End of story. Kirk decides what Charlie needs is a little exercise. Kirk starts to teach Charlie some basic self-defense moves. Charlie struggles. It's not easy. He's awkward and clumsy. He starts to pout. "I don't want to do this anymore. It's not fun." When one of the other crew members laughs at Charlie, Charlie becomes enraged again and just makes the guy disappear. When Kirk asks, "Hey, where did my crew member just go?" Charlie's confused. He'd never thought about it before. He wanted the person to disappear. They disappeared. Who cares where they go? Kirk puts Charlie under house arrest. He's a little too dangerous to let him roam around unattended. Kirk decides taking Charlie to a heavily populated planet, probably not such a good idea. But when he goes to change course, discovers he no longer has control of the Enterprise. Charlie shows up on the bridge and announces, I want to go to that planet, so guess what? We're going to that planet. He then starts to mock and ridicule Mr. Spock, forcing him to recite poetry, calling him Mr. Pointy Ears. Kirk tells Charlie, knock it off. You will treat people with respect. Charlie backs down. But when he storms off the bridge, again enraged, when one of the crew comes up, seeing Charlie upset and tries to console him, Charlie turns the poor woman into a lizard. This pattern repeats and escalates. Every time Kirk makes Charlie back down, Charlie makes an innocent bystander pay, turns a crew member into an elderly woman, makes people laughing and having a good time suffer. The last straw is when Charlie shows up unannounced and uninvited to Yeoman Rand's quarters and declares his undying love. Yeoman Rand manages to turn on the intercom as she's telling Charlie in no uncertain terms, get out and never come back. In another fit of rage, Charlie makes her disappear. And when Kirk and Spock belatedly show up, he roughs them up. Kirk and company decide, let's just see the limits of Charlie's powers. So the next time Charlie's on the bridge, play acting as captain, they start doing as many things as possible to overload Charlie's abilities. And it works. But just when Kirk is about to beat the stuffing out of Charlie, we have visitors. The aliens that were thought to be extinct from the planet that Charlie had crash landed on, turns out they ain't extinct. They're an energy life form. The aliens announce, yep, they were the ones that kept Charlie alive by giving him these mental powers. Well, Charlie's being naughty, abusing those powers, so they've shown up to take Charlie back home. Charlie starts screaming, no, don't make me go. I'll behave. I promise. I'll be good. I won't do it again. Please don't make me go with them. I want to stay. Please. Kirk defends Charlie to the aliens. Look, he's human. He needs to be among his kind. We'll teach him. We'll work with him. We'll figure out a way to help him learn to control his powers so he can live among other humans. The aliens say, no, that won't work. Look, it's all our fault, and we're taking responsibility for what we did. We gave Charlie these powers so he could survive. But we didn't know what humans were like. We didn't know how to raise him properly. So he won't be able to control his powers. He will always use them, and eventually he'll become an existential threat to the human race. So we got to take him back with us. The aliens undo all of Charlie's mischief, fix the crew members he messed with, return the ones that had disappeared. They then grab Charlie and skedaddle. The first few episodes of the original series deal with how mental powers can be used and abused. In the first episode, we had a creature that used mental powers to hunt and feed. This time around, Charlie's not malevolent or evil. In fact, you could make the argument he doesn't even intend to hurt anyone because he doesn't understand that his actions hurt people. Charlie just wants what he wants when he wants it. He's a petulant child who throws temper tantrums when he doesn't get what he wants when he wants it. Unfortunately, those temper tantrums involve making people disappear. Charlie is smart and curious, generally good-natured and sweet, capable of being very charming. But unfortunately, he was never socialized. Psychologically, he's at the level of a toddler. There are well-documented cases from the 18th and 19th century, mostly from India and the American frontier, where children were isolated from other people before they had learned speech, being raised by wolves and other wild animals. And in every single instance, they were incapable of fitting into normal society. Some of them weren't even capable of learning human language. And modern psychology tells us if you don't socialize a child by the age of 4, they will struggle to fit into society for the rest of their lives. So the aliens have a point. Charlie will never be able to fit into normal society. And with his powers, that's a problem. But then there's another question. Why does Charlie freak out and scream and holler and beg to stay when the aliens come? Let's assume the aliens are benevolent, like the show seems to indicate. They took in a human child, raised it as their own, going so far to even give him their powers. But they didn't know how to socialize a child. And once they realized their mistake, they came back to correct it, to take Charlie back with him. But their solution is to put Charlie in solitary confinement, a punishment that most societies consider so harsh and cruel that they reserve it for the most vile criminals who've committed the most heinous acts. Does Charlie deserve that? The problem with coming up with an alternate solution are those powers. He's just too powerful. He could become an existential threat to the human race. So just letting him run free isn't a viable option. But to avoid solitary confinement, who gets the privilege of hanging out with Charlie? Somebody who'd make you disappear the next time they throw a temper tantrum. Apparently, the aliens can undo whatever Charlie does. But do you want to be turned into a lizard? Mentally tortured? Going by what Yeoman Rand says, what happens when you disappear isn't any fun either. One possible solution? To give the person or people who regularly interact with Charlie the same mental powers. I'm back. So, you like to make people disappear, huh, Charlie? Let's see how you like it. Zap. But considering Charlie's mental age, would that be more akin to kicking a puppy? Granted, a puppy that can make you disappear. Would that type of discipline teach Charlie self-control, or would it make him vengeful? We keep circling back to the only viable option is solitary confinement. Sorry, Charlie, this sucks and you don't deserve it, but if you want to keep breathing, because that is another solution, but if you want to keep breathing, solitary confinement it is. Here's one more wrinkle to this problem. What if the aliens weren't benevolent, that they lied, and their intentions towards Charlie were never altruistic? Charlie managed to escape his tormentors, but unfortunately, because he had never been socialized, he's a pain in the neck. He's a threat to humans. The aliens show up to reclaim their victim. What obligation does Kirk and company have to protect Charlie? Or at a bare minimum, to ask some more questions? I'll end with one final question. Now remember, everything Charlie did was undone. He hasn't killed anyone. He's being punished for what he might do. But if we agree that Charlie is just too powerful, too much a threat to society, that the only solution is solitary confinement, we've now created a scale. On one end is normal humans. On the other end is Charlie, too powerful. At what point along that scale does solitary confinement become an option for what somebody might do? So, what do y'all think? How should Kirk and the aliens treat Charlie? What's the right solution? Tell me down in the comments below. At any rate, I hope I gave you all something to think about, and until next time, y'all be safe. If y'all are still here, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. While you're at it, why don't you like this video, subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell. You can hear me yammer on about something else next time, and feel free to share this video far and wide.
Please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment.